All right, here we are at Mercedes-Benz of Temecula. And we're going to pick up our citric acid flush. I'm driving the old Kia van. Park it right next to the AMG. I've got that car.
Which one? The one all the way to the right?
500 SL, yeah.
Nice.
Let's get one of these. Boy, these have changed a lot. Damn. Okay. Well, you guys stay cool. Good God. What is it? What's that say on? Dang. Let's get out of here. Okay, here are the instructions for Mercedes cooling system citrus flush. It's on dieselgiant.com. This is pretty much about the same as just a gasoline engine, but it says how to do it. Blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Supposedly this would bring it down 10 degrees. This is what the stuff looks like, and that's what I bought. $22 at the Mercedes dealership. So you get a brand new thermostat. I got one on the way. It's kind of an old school radiator. Mine's got the expansion tank. I don't have anything like this on the radiator. It says get a brand new cap because you gotta. This is for keeping the pressure in the cooling system. If this leaks at all, then it could cause it to overheat. And then some Shout Ultra Gel. I bought that stuff. And this is for, you do this treatment first. It's like to flush out all the oil that's in the system. I did blow a head gasket, 10 years ago, but I never really had any overheating problems with the car for 10 years until last summer. So something went. I'm hoping it's something with the head gasket, but we'll find out because I'm going to be doing the head gasket after this. But I'm going to do this first just to get everything out of the way. Do not use laundry or dish detergent or you'll never get all the bubbles out. And you need a big wrench for to get the block drain, I guess. I don't use one of those. I just have a big old, I think it's a 19 box wrench. It fits on there. It's either 19 or 18. Remove the thermostat housing. Take your thermostat out. Let's see, remove the thermostat, which allow the flush to circulate immediately. Leave O-ring in place, replace the cover back on. That way you don't have a thermostat in there that has to warm up and open and allow things to flush. This way it'll just circulate immediately. Put it on, tighten it, drain the radiator. Then yeah, that's install the radiator plug. Then move on to the block, and the block drain. I'll get a picture of it. It's on the passenger side. Pretty easy to get to, but I have to jack the car up to do mine. It's right there. Crack that sucker loose, and then drain all the coolant out of the block. Here he says disconnect a bunch of hoses and stuff. Large hose on driver's side that goes into the head to the firewall. So this is disconnecting the hose for the heater core, because it has coolant in it also. I'm going to try to just disconnect mine at the mono valve. Maybe I might disconnect it here and then just flush that thing out. We'll see. Remove the hose. Oh yeah, see, there's the mono valve. So that's the other end of the heater core. And then here he's got a garden hose. Let's see, remove upper radiator hose, start flushing, garden hose, flush. So you flush the whole system with the garden hose first. Get all as much coolant out as you can until you got clear water running out of the block. It looks like the top hose to the radiator. Flush the radiator out. Bottom hose disconnected. Flush the head hose and then the heater core pipe. Again, flush every hose forward then backward into the component until everything comes out clear. You get your shout ready. It looks like a 5-gallon bucket. Mix a half a bottle. I think this is 8 ounces, so half of that. Cold water mixed very well in 2 gallons. Pour into the radiator. Reconnect everything. Top off with the water, and then start the engine run for 10 minutes with radiator cap off. Mine would be the expansion tank cap. Then you need to flush it about 2 times to get it all out. Next, mix up the Citric flush. It's about 1 pound with 1 gallon of warm water. Mix until dissolved. Pour this into the radiator. Then top off with water. Run for 10 minutes with radiator cap off and reflush. You'll need to flush about 2 times to get it all out. Then make sure that nothing but clear water comes out. Okay, so run for about 10 minutes. Now I read other instructions where you put this stuff in there and you run it for 15 minutes at about 2,500 RPM for 15 minutes. Then you flush the whole system out again a couple times. And then burp the system. I don't have one of these things. I just, I'm going to burp the air out through thermostat housing. Has a little bleeder screw on the top of it. You just open it and pour coolant in through the expansion tank until you see coolant come out of the bleeder screw, and tighten it up. And then that's about it. Let's see. This is the way this guy gets the coolant in there in like 30 seconds, but I don't have all that. Most people don't have this. So that's it. So we'll try doing that. citric acid powder, anyone? So this is the stuff here. It's a powder. And this is the soap. This is what I'll flush it out first. First flush we'll be using half a bottle of this. It's 8.7 ounces. And I guess this makes, it's a soap, but it doesn't make as much bubbles as like a dish washing liquid. So we'll try that. I got my table set up. I'm going to be doing the head gasket the next couple days. Probably take me a week. So why am I doing this? Well, when I went and had the muffler put on the other day, driving home, I noticed the temperature going up. And it was going up close to the red. Had the AC on, and it's mostly in just stop and go traffic. Once it's driving and you're driving 30 miles an hour, you know, it starts cooling down and everything from the airflow from the front. Last September, my son overheated it. I don't know how long he was into the red, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. But that's when this running hot issue started. So when he got home, I checked the coolant tank. There was coolant missing. It had gone from the expansion tank down into the overflow reservoir, which is behind that inner fender splash. And that was the only sign I saw of overheating, and it really wasn't overheating for me when I was, you know, in the driveway running it, only when I was driving around in warm temperatures, ambient temperature outside. So all winter long, the car runs cool and everything, but during starting for about 6 months, we get a pretty hot air. It'll start right now. It's June 2022, and starting about July 15th, July 4th, starts heating up around here in the city of Temecula. And it'll be in the 90s every day, and then it'll spike every couple of weeks into the hundreds. And that'll last all the way till about the middle of October. In November, it starts the cooling cycle, and then November all the way to April, May, June. Right now it's 69 degrees at 11:30 in the morning, 69 degrees, so that's not real hot. It'll probably get to be about 84 today, the high. So when I couldn't find any problems with the cooling system, I tested everything. The auxiliary fans work. The main fan, I replaced the fan clutch, I replaced the radiator, I replaced the thermostat, I replaced the cooling sensors, I tested the relays. I replaced the bearing bracket for the fan clutch, the expansion tank, the cap on the expansion tank right here. New coolant. Yeah, I pretty much went through this whole car, and everything's working, you know, but yet it still overheats. So I've been advised on the Mercedes forum to do the acid flush. I also tested for a blown head gasket with, it's in one of my videos, with a head gasket leak detector where you have this blue fluid in this pump up clear thing that you stick on here, and when the car is running, it samples some of the air coming out of here, and if it has combustion gases, that means that the head gasket is leaking combustion gases into the coolant. And it detects it and it turns green and tells you that, oh yeah, well, it passed that test. So, you know, I don't know if that's a real good test, being that most people test that way with a radiator that's got a cap on it, and you know the coolant is circulating as the engine's going, and then if there's any bubbles, it's going to be in here, and they burst and release that gas, and the thing sniffs it and turns color. Well, the expansion tank is not really a circulating vessel. It's just kind of an overflow when this thing starts to heat up. It heats up and overflows into here and goes into the, goes into the expansion tank, which expands from there. If it expands too much, then a little valve in this cap will open up, and then through this hose it goes down into a overflow tank down there. So it captures that coolant so you don't lose it. And you shut the car off, it cools down, then it sucks the coolant back into the expansion tank. That's the way it works. So we're going to do just the acid flush today. Tomorrow I'll probably start on the head gasket. I don't feel like doing it. This will be the third time. The first time when we got this car over 10 years ago, it had a blown head gasket and there was oil mixing with the coolant only. No coolant in the oil in the engine. That's what these things do. And they have kind of a weak design. Number 6 cylinder. It gets something happens to the gasket there. It's weak, whatever. Second time, which was only 2 years ago, I went and got a dealer gasket, $130, and that lasted a couple years. Now it's leaking oil, so I want to replace the head gasket anyways because it's leaking oil and making a mess on the driveway and dripping on the exhaust pipe, so you smell it in the cabin when you're driving. These engines all have this kind of problem. Some of them don't, but most of them do, and most of these types of engines, these 90s, early 90s engines, and Mercedes, there's so many thousands of posts of them running hot only when they're idling in traffic, stop and go traffic with the air conditioning on. Now, the way the system's supposed to work is you have the air conditioning on, you have these auxiliary cooling fans. They're 2 speeds. There's a condenser right here, and the condenser gets hot. The coolant temperature sensor tells the system to turn these things on either at low speed or high speed, and I think the high speed is when it's 100 and it senses 110, between 110, 115 Celsius. Then these things will come on high speed. Okay, that's like really hot. That's like over 200 degrees, 115 Celsius. So that's to cool the condenser, and some of the air gets pushed through to cool the radiator. Most people feel that it's not enough to cool the radiator. So then you have the main cooling fan, which is right here, and it's a viscous fan clutch. I think the last video you'll see one that I tested, and these things, they have there's no sensors, no wiring to this thing at all that tells it to lock up. They lock up. They free spin, and then when they sense just only the air from the radiator that gets really hot, and it takes this metal bimetallic strip that's on the front of it, feels that hot air, and then it starts to bend, and then it releases a pin that releases silicone fluid into these galleys of the fan clutch and locks it up. Well, this thing, let's see, it's try to remember the lock-in temperature. I've read so much on it. It's like my mind is like scrambled eggs. This is like the last resort. Is this thing that locks in and then pulls. It's a puller fan, and it pulls air from the front through and cools it down really fast. But it locks in at, the temperature's just like, it's almost up to the red, is when it locks in. And it locks in, I found out that these things, they lock in at a higher RPM, not at idle. At idle, they're still freewheeling. They're locking a little bit, but full lock-in is like, I've read between 25 and 3,000 RPM. Well, when you're idling in traffic, that's not going to do you too good, so your temperature just starts climbing. I might still get a tropical fan clutch that locks in at 90 Celsius instead. But more I think about it, the problem with this car is when you're idling in stop and go traffic, this thing's not fully locked in cooling. It only locks when you're at a higher RPM. I don't know why they did that, but the way the Mercedes does, from what I understand, is if this thing was fully locked all the time, like on older American cars, the fan was just always, pulling air. And that robs you of horsepower and gas mileage, and it prematurely wears out all the pulleys and all this other stuff. So there's that thing. So even with a tropical fan clutch, at idle, it's still not completely locked in. So I'm kind of going away from that idea. Now I'm just going to do the flush and do the head gasket and see if that solves this running hot issue. If it still doesn't, then I might just ditch this whole setup and put a big electric fan right here in its place that's controlled by a coolant temperature sensor and then a relay, and you can have them 2-speed. You can have a one where you can have a switch on the dash, so it's all automatic and everything, but if you want it to cool like right now, you can flip this switch and it'll turn it on. And the fans come in different variations, either two fans or one big fan. It's all about CFM, how much they're pulling. Not super expensive, but if you look at cars, don't have this kind of design anymore. They have electric cooling fans. I think my Kia van with a 3.5 liter, it's a 2002, and it has electric cooling fans. So does this Lincoln. So does all cars now. Even Mercedes, later on down the line, they ditched this, fan clutch deal and went with electric fans. So that's the best possible cooling you can get. I'd rather keep everything stock and everything, but being that I live in a place where it gets hotter than heck during the summer, I want to be able to keep this engine running really cool. I want it to stay at between the 85 and 100 mark. People speeding in the neighborhood. And also, it gets so hot under here that I think that might contribute to the head gasket getting weak. Engines, they're always hot, but this thing, man, it cooks like an oven under there. Okay, so I've got the car up on jack stands. Makes it easier to, up here, there's let's see, where is it? It's right here. I don't know where the other end of this thing goes, but we'll find out. Oh. Hey, there it is. Luckily, this radiator is less than a year old, so everything kind of works on it. Or just the the cap on the expansion tank. Help it drain. There's the thermostat. Moto Rad, Germany. Forget where I got this one from, but this was last summer, so I'll test it to see if it opens all the way. There's no markings on it on when it opens, what temperature, but I got another one that should be arriving today. See, that coolant isn't very dirty. It starts out, it's a Xerox G5, and it's kind of an orangey, yellowish looking coolant, and it's clear. So I know that the system, the whole system, cooling system is clear. And I know everything is good back behind the dashboard. So I'm just trying to clean out the passages in the block and the head. That's what I'm going for today. Actually, it is easier. I just got a 19 millimeter socket, extension, mini little breaker bar. Then I put a piece of electrical conduit on it, and boom, got it loose. Let's see if it drains. Yep. Make sure it's going into my pan. Come on, baby. Yeah. Wish the jack wasn't there. I guess I could always move it. There isn't that much in there. And I'll just let that drain. Yeah, I'm just flushing the radiator. So I got the bottom drain of the radiator going. Look how clear that water is. First water flush. Yeah, see. So that's pretty nice. Now what I do is I'm going to flush it through the block. So see, it's coming out this hose too, so it's cleaning all the hoses out. Not that they were even dirty. You know, look at that. Yeah, drain that water. So now I'm just going to put this in at an angle like this and just flush the block. See what happens. I need 2 hands for this. Yeah. Should be coming out of the block too. I think I'll put this hose back on. Yeah, you can see it. I forgot the heater hose. It's right down. It's right here. Came from down there. Kind of hard to get to, but long screwdriver. That's going to the heater core. I can't get this one off right here. I don't really care because I know the heater core is clean. It was replaced. So I'm just gonna just flush it through here, see what comes out of there. And button it all back together, put the soap in there and run it. Okay, about 2 gallons, half a bottle of this stuff. Yuck. Looks like about a half a bottle. And then mix it up, and then we'll pour it in. I'll pour it in. I'll fill the radiator up here first. The coolant tank, expansion tank. Then I'll put this back together. And then I'll take one of these caps off of the head. That'll lead to a passageway funnel and fill that up. See if I can get a little bit of this in there. Come on, baby. Anyways, you get the idea. Pretty good. And just put the cap back on. They have a bunch of these caps on here for that reason. Oh crap! Don't lose the ring. Anyways, just screw that back on. I'll just hand tighten it for now. So, I think I got it all ready for the super duper wash. I've got this back on. It might leak a little bit here because there's no thermostat in there. I did put another, found a thicker gasket. Without a gasket, it was certainly going to leak under pressure. Got this tight, got the hose back there tight. I've got the block drain tight. I have the heater stuff tight. Yeah, radiator's tight down there, and they say to leave that cap off, and I think I'll top it off there a little bit maybe. Yeah. That's pretty good. Okay. All right, let's let it run for 15 minutes. Ugh. Hey, he left me a little gas. Usually it's on empty. I keep telling him, I go, just fill it up halfway and just leave it there when it gets past, because you're gonna start sucking in sediment from the bottom of the tank when you let it go that low, and then you got fuel injection problems. I did replace all the fuel injectors in this car at one time. So now we're at, that's the degree there. Okay, now, let's see, to run the heater. good. It's not dripping. Well, just wait 15 minutes and then flush it out a couple times. Yeah, I shut it off about around about 12 minutes. Temperature gauge got up to about 100. So good and hot water, soap suds. So now just let it cool off just a little bit, and then I'll drain all that crap out, and then just flush the whole thing all over again. Okay, that stuff's all flushed out. Now let's just pour this entire thing into about a gallon of water. Ugh. That's that. I'll mix it up a little. Then I just put some sink water in there, hot. I guess it dissolves it. And then just pour it in. I like to pour it in. I just hold the hose like that with a funnel, fill up the radiator, put it back. Put the expansion tank, do that one. This time it should just fill the block. You don't really need to do that with that other thing back there, the other hose. So it's just fill this up, put the hose on, tighten it down, and then we'll start it and let it run. See, here's the Mercedes instructions. They're very old. You look at this engine. Expansion tank, block drain, radiator, the hoses, water pump. There's the drain for that radiator. So the only thing, it's pretty much the same as the other one, but the only difference I saw with this is that once you dissolve the acid powder into the water and pour the cleaning solution in expansion tank, did that, top up with water. I don't know what this bleeder screw for auxiliary heater, I don't know what that is. I don't have that. Then closed cap of expansion tank where this other guy run for 10 minutes with radiator cap off and reflush. It starts boiling over. Ready to go? Ready to go. Let's see. I think it needs a little more water in that tank. Where's my bucket? There it is. I hope this isn't a waste of time. It takes a, I mean, if you're going really fast, probably get it done in an hour and a half. But I'm doing it in slowpoke mode. Take a break for lunch. I had to make lunch for my wife. She had back surgery, so I'm her slave. Yeah, top this guy off a little bit. Right up to the line, that's good. It'll probably overflow. Keys. It's a beautiful day. It's now 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Now the belt will squeak, so that's just from water getting on it. Okay. Whew. All right. There goes that belt. crap before. Well, looks good, so yeah, it's just a waiting game now. So we're about 85 Celsius, maybe 90. Flashing red light. And that's indicates a fault in the climate control system, so I'm going to shut it off and start it up again. I think it's the auxiliary water pump, because I went and hooked that up. I usually disconnect it for the summer because sometimes you get hot air at the vents. I think it needs a new one of those. As soon as I hooked that up, that warning light came on. So now we're approaching the 100 mark. And then you gotta flip the throttle, get it circulating through the whole engine. And you're supposed to keep it up to about 2,000 RPM. What time it is. Okay, so it's only been like 7 minutes. Yeah, you can see the temperature is like getting hot. Oh, he does not like it. We're almost done. I can hear the water boiling. Holy crap. Okay. Look at that hose. Right there. Kind of weird percolating noises inside of. Weird. Okay, let it cool off and we're gonna drain it. Oh, man. That thing is just boiling hot. The water was just boiling in there. Yeah, you can see some of the sediment in there. Look at all that crap. Not a whole lot of crap, but crap. Yeah, here's some of the kind of hard to see. It got some stuff out, it's not horrible. It must be scale, whatever deposits were in there. So got some of it out, so now it's just time to flush. Flush it out. Okay, so I've got just water in the system now. I burped it. Get the air out of the system using this. Fill it there until water comes out of there. And just fired it up. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's 72 degrees outside. So let's got a thermostat in there. The thermostat that I ordered was a thermostat that opens at 75 Celsius instead of 87 Celsius. But said it was delivered in the mailbox. Not there. It's just, I was standing right here working on the car, and the mailman just, I said, just like he does every day, just stops. I didn't run out there. I just, anyways. So, got it on Amazon. It's a Bear thermostat. Okay, so then we're now at about 85 Celsius. Seems to be holding. Boy, when I tried it last time, the temperature was going up and down. So I said, okay, it's got air in the system. Hopefully that was it. So you saw I did the acid flush. Not a whole lot of stuff came out. A little bit of specks and stuff, but I've taken pretty good care of this car in the last 10 years. I've probably changed the coolant, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in 10 years maybe. All right, let's try stressing the system out and put AC on. Let's give it about 5 minutes to warm up. Listen to this mono bell. Supposed to do that. So it's about 5 minutes later. Temperature's holding. I got about 50-degree air coming out of the vents, maybe a little cooler. I've got some R12. And tomorrow morning I'll put a charge on the system. If there isn't the right amount of pressure in the AC system, the auxiliary fans have they're kind of triggered by system pressure. So there's those pressure switches at the receiver dryer. So that'll help them come on a lot better. But seems to be doing pretty good with my thermometer. So, what do I think about the acid flush so far? I think it's working. It's climbing a little bit. It should climb up to about that 100 mark, but not really, not over. That's pretty good. Before it was almost 200. So I think I'm gonna call it a day. Yeah, we'll try it like that. At least we know we got that. At least we know that we did that service to it. Yeah, okay. So that's the citric acid flush. Took me most of the day to do it, just flushing and draining and flushing and draining and flushing and draining and making lunch and doing all that fun stuff. So end of this story. I'll see you at the head gasket job.